In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter, there's a spring that waits to be unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. There's a song in every silence, seeking word and melody. There's a dawn in every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, what it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. In our end is our beginning, in our time infinity, in our doubt there is believing, in our life eternity, in our death a resurrection, at the last a victory, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter, one a thrilling that waits to be unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. Please be seated. Good afternoon, and how wonderful it is that we can come together and celebrate Doreen's life. Welcome on behalf of Doreen's family, and thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. And thank you to all of you who are joining online from across Canada and USA, from Mexico, Hong Kong, Australia, Europe, and Sweden. Och välkommen till alla i Sverige som är Doreens familj och hennes vänner. Tack så mycket. I'm Alan Richards, and it's my privilege to have been part of the ministry team at Camrose United Church, which is where I met Doreen. Her faith and her gifts enhanced the life of the church. She was the treasurer and so active a member of the UCW, the United Church Women. She was a member of the Pastoral Care Committee where, among other things, she visited the families of those who had lost loved ones. And I knew her too as a member of the choir to which she belonged for many years, and how she so enjoyed singing and drew so much strength for it. And she and I had a little fun trying our Swedish with each other. So I'm very pleased and very honored to have been invited to lead this service today and to have worked so closely with Tom in preparing it. Some years ago, I was very ill, and Doreen and Bob came to visit my wife Lorraine and me. And she gave me a small, flat metal heart attached to a purple ribbon, and on it were the words, Gud hör bön, God hears our prayers. I kept that gift and hung it on the wall beside my desk at home. And when she was in St. Mary's, I brought it back to her. And she laughed, and we talked about it, and we shared our experiences. I'm telling you this story in part because I was asked to, but in part because what she did epitomizes for me her gifts of care, of faith, and of generosity. Part of who she was, which we are celebrating here this afternoon. If you haven't done so already, I would invite you to please turn your cell phones off. I invite you to join with me in a moment of prayer. Loving, compassionate, and Holy One, you are present among us and within each of us. May it be that in our stories, in the music and songs, in the moments of silence, we find comfort in our grief, peace in the midst of our anxieties, and delight in our celebration of Doreen and her life. Because this we know would make Doreen glad, as it would also delight you. You, the source of life, you who hold her now in your heart, even as we hold her in ours. Amen.
Daryl and I met Doreen when we first moved here in 2001, and as Daryl took up being the music director at the United Church and I came along as part of the package, we encountered Doreen and her graciousness and her enveloping love. And what we didn't know was that she'd hosted lots of people. And a few years ago, there was a music teaching conference in Camrose called the Kodai Symposium. And the composer of this next song, Linnea Good, lives in BC, and she reached out to our United Church and asked if anybody would be willing to put her up for a few days to make her trip more affordable. And of course, where did she end up staying? With Doreen and Bob. And so we thought it was really appropriate, not just because these words are wonderful and the song itself is good, but because Linnea had that connection to Doreen and Bob.
Blessed are those who are called to the table, this meal rich and simple, to nourish and heal. Blessed are those who have folded the napkins, set out the water, and tended the meal. And blessed are those, candle in hand. Blessed are those who serve. Blessed are those who are called to the table. The children are playing in sun sinking low. The ones who stand close by the cook and the fire, the friend and the neighbor, the one we don't know. And blessed are those, towel in hand. Blessed are those who sing grace. Blessed are those who are called to the table, the one who has hurt you, the one who is wrong, the ones unrepentant, unworthy, ungrateful, the ones who come early, banquet of plenty, where God's loving abounds. Let all of creation in serving and sharing rejoice at this table, the whole world around. And blessed is God, blessed are we. Blessed be this table for all.
So we're going to hear from various members of the family. And I'm going to invite those who are going to speak and play, if they would come and take the seats up here.
It reminds me of just being on an airplane recently. So I'm Norman to my mom and only my mom. Norm to people that actually, want to be my friend. Also occasionally referred to as number 4. And when you fail to attend the planning meeting, you get nominated to be the speaker, and it's kind of hard to decline. So just wanted to again say thank you so much for showing up today. As you know, we lost Mom in February, and we chose to delay this because tomorrow would have been my mom's 90th birthday. And we wanted to celebrate, not just have a funeral, because she was a very special person. Jenny, Doreen, Streberg, Kuntz, Walline. It's quite the story just in the name. So it's well known that telling stories is a good way to handle grief. And I know some of the things I'm going to tell you are written in the obit, but I'm going to have you as a captive audience, so you're going to have to endure it anyway. So Mom was born in 1934, tough times, to a hard-working Swedish family in Meeting Creek. And we always enjoyed, listening to her stories of growing up in that community. Her dad was a farmer, but he was also an entrepreneur. He ended up running the general store in Meeting Creek. He ended up being kind of a horse trader and making deals, and became well known for that. And no surprise, eventually became an auctioneer. And that career has persisted through generations of Strebergs, many well-known auctioneers coming down the path. The one story that was in the thing was about Mom riding her horse to and from school, and made me laugh because it was always one of my favorite stories. But I remember the Fuller story and the fact that on a lot of days she didn't get to ride the horse to school. The horse would just gently toss her to the ground and walk slowly in front of her. Wouldn't go anywhere else, would still go to school, would still come home, but the horse was the leader. The horse's name was Boots, and somebody mentioned that story to Uncle Dennis. He said, yeah, we had 30 horses. She could have had a different one, but no, she persisted. So I always, I tell the story that our last name is Kuntz, good German name, but Mom's side was pure Swede, Grandma was Polish, great-grandma was French. The only thing really German about us was the name and a bunch of stubbornness. But I soon realized there's just as much stubbornness from the Swede as there is from the German. One of the things that happens when someone passes is people tell stories, and even people like me, son number 4, learn things they didn't know. So one of the things I was surprised to learn was when Mom turned 12, she thought she should learn how to smoke. And if you knew my mom, smoking didn't really seem like a behavior for her, but she spent almost a year trying to endure smoking before she finally gave up. She went to college, took commerce. I don't know if she was an accountant. My daughter's an accountant, so there's a little bit in the blood, but she was a bookkeeper, and she was working at that when she met my dad. And Dad grew up in Heisler, not too far from Meeting Creek. And I like to think that my mom was likely attracted to those entrepreneurial qualities in Dad that she had in her dad. So they got married in Meeting Creek, and again, connections after passing. My father's side, we haven't had as much connection with them for a long, long time, and many of them have kind of reached out when they heard the news. And our cousin Eric recently talked to both Doyle and Tom, and one of the things he mentioned is one of his earliest memories is going to his Uncle Harry's wedding, and that he was marrying this hot blonde chick. So the wedding was in 1954, in June 27th, and my brother Doyle was born in February of 1955. And when I got old enough to do the math, I asked my mom, was Doyle premature? And she said, well, we were engaged. So, Mom was a very active person in her younger days. She was a very good ball player, and she pitched for the ladies' team. And my father had an accident working and took a fleck of steel in his eye and was basically blind in one eye. So he couldn't help her with practice. He couldn't be the back catcher. So Doyle actually got his first glove to be a back catcher for my mom. But first there was a broken basement window. Then there was a board knocked out of the fence behind him. But when he took one on the side of the face and broke his glasses, that was when that kind of came to an end. We grew up in Camrose. We've been in that same house, I think, since 1958. And they tell me at one point, just in a 2-block radius, there were 51 kids. And Mom would play ball with the older ones, and Keith Payton used to live down the street, called her Babe Ruth. She also liked to curl, spent a lot of time at the curling rink, and one of the memories they had, my dad was dropping her off at the curling rink the moment they heard that John F. Kennedy had been assassinated. That always stuck in their mind as a moment. I remember one year her team scored an 8-ender, which is near impossible, and she had this flood of gifts. And in the house still, we have a butter dish, 8-ender on that butter dish. So she was kept pretty busy raising 5 boys and supporting Dad in his business, did books from her home office. She developed a few tactics we didn't like. She liked to grab the short hairs on the back of your neck, and when she had that, she pretty much had control of you no matter how old you were. When Doyle turned 12, he got told, this is the last year you're going to have a big birthday party, so he invited 20 kids. And his friends were fairly rambunctious, and one particular started getting a little out of control. So my mom grabbed him by the hair in the back of the net and the belt loop and walked him out the door and tossed him into the snowbank. It was Bobby Reinhardt. And she said, okay, Bobby, when you know you can behave, you can come back in. And so he sat up in a snowbank and he said, okay, wrestler lady, I'll behave. And just like Alan's story, it was how my mom would connect with people. And Bobby was one that would often come back and just stop to say hi to my mom. It was just her gift. My early memories of Mom all center around food. You can't tell quite as much with James in this, but Doyle and James both worked at my dad's shop, and Tom worked at the plumbing company, Hoover and Wascott. So I kind of became the sous chef. And my mom was an amazing cook and baker and canner, and when you made food, you didn't make 1 or 2 pies, you made 20. And we made bread and buns, cookies and cakes, canned peaches, pears, plums, tomatoes, dill pickles, sweet pickles, carrot pickles, beet pickles, 2 or 3 kinds of relish, raspberry jam, strawberry jam, crabapple jelly. Anyway, you get the point. But when she made hardtack, there could be any one of those 51 kids lined up our door for a fresh piece of hardtack. It was pretty well known. And growing up with an unfinished basement with 5 boys was, dangerous at times. We played hockey, we built forts, we had small battles. But when James decided to build a campfire and started it up, then that was kind of drawing the line. And 5 boys and bookkeeping from home. Mom spent a long time before she got a driver's license. She had a very good network of phoning suppliers. I'm pretty sure we were Tomboy's favorite family, and they'd just take her order on the phone and it'd be delivered to our house, and there were a lot of groceries consumed. The boys were used to walking. We'd walk through blizzards or ride through thunder showers. It was no big deal. I remember being concerned when my dad showed up to pick me up from school. I thought something must be wrong. So it was actually a storm and I got a ride home. But when my dad got into politics, he had to, step up, and my mom finally thought, okay, it's time for me to get my driver's license. It was 1971, and she was 37 years old. So Dad decided he needed a new car, bought a shiny Oldsmobile, and decided the old Pontiac Parisienne was now going to be Mom's. Took it to the shop and had the crew go through it and make sure it was in good running order. But he then had them paint it the kind of company vehicle color, which was fire engine red. So he always said, it's because they need to see her coming. We just thought he was cheap. My dad, suddenly passing, turned Mom's world upside down. Well, turned all our worlds upside down, but especially Mom. As she'd been raised to do, she picked herself up and dusted herself off and became the boss instead of the support person. Over time, she wound down my dad's many companies and started doing bookkeeping for companies like, I always remember Ken at Smitty's. She did books for him for many years. All the boys had a lot more responsibility after losing Dad, but we also had a lot more freedom, and most of us were pretty well behaved with that, not so much James. But James was always the best. All of us had friends that loved to come to our house, but James, for whatever reason, whether animals or friends, James went to the park one day to play as a little kid, came back with a college student. And we're all like, this is a little weird, like this guy's, but it was just a homesick kid, just feeling like he wanted some family. Ended up staying for dinner, came back many more times for dinner. And again, my mom kept track of what he did. Again, that was part of her her gift. Mom decided to upgrade her car and bought her Mercedes diesel. Shiny car in its day. But she soon realized that when she started it in the garage, she didn't like the smell of the diesel fumes coming up into the house. So she would push her car from the garage outside before she started it. So after a few years, Mom got the courage to go on a few dates and started meeting the odd guy, and the boys were pretty protective. And we ran the first couple of boyfriends off, including John Steinert, but we liked Heather, so we kept her. So Heather became our sister we'd never had. And I know that Heather loved my mom every bit as much as I did. She was there so often in support. She was there in her end days. And Heather was the one that sat with my mom after she'd passed until the coroner came. So when the boys were leaving for school and work, Mom decided to start make use of this big house and take in the international students. And Paul Boan Yum was the first Hong Kong student to stay with her. Stayed in touch with him all the years. Many more followed, at first mostly the Chinese exchange students. Then branched into boarding hockey players. The boys at this time, a bunch of us were out on the farm, and Mom would just pop out to visit us. It was like an hour and a half drive to get out to the farm. So one day, James storms in the back door, and the damn horse ate my pot plants. Didn't realize Mom had showed up and was sitting in the living room, and she says, "Well, no wonder he's so hard to catch." When Mom ran into Bob at the post office and they struck up talking, they started having coffee and started spending time together, we just knew things were different. The two of them had so much common history, rekindled an old friendship. We decided, okay, we're not going to run this guy off. It worked out, of course, and they got married, and I don't know if they did it on purpose, but to help me not forget their anniversary, they got married on my birthday. They got married in 1984, so they'd be coming up on 40 years together. So the biggest thing, Mom and Bob, they were companions. They traveled all over the world. They spent lots of time, as you heard, helping the church, or if they were just puttering around the house. And Bob is a world-class putterer. But they were friends, foremost. And we thank you so much, Bob, for the companion you've been to our mom. I also wanted to thank all of Bob's family. We really have not spent a lot of time together, but I do know the purpose and joy you brought to my mom's life. So over the 40 years, kids have grown up and had their own kids. Everybody's busy. But I always knew Mom was there as an anchor in my life. And I will miss that anchor. Mom and Bob also spent so much time, again, the Hong Kong Hilton turned into the Hong Kong International. We had medical students, we had people through the church, we had, again, lots of hockey players, lots of Hutterites coming to do something at the hospital, and they'd just share their house and share their home and make it a home. I also have to mention the support that Bob and Mom gave to my grandmother, Granny. She had a long life, and they were always the primary support system for her as she declined at the end, and she stayed with them the last months of her life. Same kind of story, not quite as deep, but with Aunt Ebba. Spent so much time helping Aunt Ebba. So when I think about how Mom raised us, I realize how much we owe to her. She let us be independent, but she supported us in everything we did. She helped us find confidence, and I had no idea how important confidence was in life until the few moments I lacked it. Confidence is really what helps you succeed in life, and she gave us that. But the thing that she did is she always tempered that confidence with humility. And that's really the secret sauce to have a good person. You need confidence to succeed, but you need humility to stay human, to be empathetic, to care about others. If you have confidence without humility, you're just Donald Trump. So I know Mom was extremely proud of her 5 boys, and I just hope that she knows that we were even more proud of her.
Well, hello. So like Norman, I'm number 4, but of Bob, so we're both number 4s. So I'm here on behalf to speak for my siblings, Bob's kids. Doreen was many things to many people. But first and foremost, us as Bob's kids are grateful for the life and the love that she shared with our dad. Like, she made a huge difference in not only his life, but ours. They traveled together to many destinations all over the world, visiting families and friends and having adventures along the way. And in Camrose, they made a home together. At a home where all were welcomed. Beds and couches were offered up, and one could always count on good food flowing from the kitchen. Greek salad makes us think of Doreen. I can't eat Greek salad without thinking of her. And to Bob's kids, us, she was our bonus mom. To our kids, she was grandma, always. We appreciate her kindness. She knew the true meaning of accepting us as we were. No questions, it didn't matter. No judgment. Her welcoming hug was instant, heartfelt, strong, and long. The value of that embrace will always be remembered. As we say our final goodbyes, we remember her loving spirit, her practical common sense approach to life, and the impact she had on all our lives. May she rest in peace, knowing her legacy will live on through all those lives she touched. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dan. I'm one of Bob's grandkids. I just want to say a little bit on behalf of the Walline grandkids. Today, as we gather to remember our beloved grandmother, Doreen, we feel a sense of loss. However, it is tempered by warm rays of love and countless cherished memories. Standing here, we are aware of how words cannot possibly capture the enormity of Doreen's spirit or the depth of our loss. Yet, I feel humbled to be able to honor her life and pay tribute to the remarkable person she was. To many, she was Doreen. To the Walline grandkids, she was Grandma. Our beacon, our comfort, our home away from home. What we remember most fondly about her was the warmth of her welcome. No matter how many or how few the circumstances, she always opened her arms and her heart wide. Doreen, with her gentle smile, welcomed me in when I was in need of a place to stay early in my life. Even though I wasn't the most grateful teenager, she was always there to lend a hand, and I definitely learned some lessons. I truly feel she was an influence on me becoming the person I am today, and I'm sure she had that effect on many of you here. With as many people that are here today, it is easy to see how much Doreen was loved and cherished. We can all agree we wish we spent more time taking in her positive energy and listening to her many stories. We can all rest easy that she is in a better place, free of pain, and likely traveling the world somewhere. We are also blessed to have known Doreen and can only hope to keep a little bit of her inside of all of us. Thank you.
So we're raised kids and have the Kuntz grandchildren here today. And we just want to say, dear Grandma, we are so grateful to be here and share memories and celebrate how awesome you are. Even though we live far away, we have always felt deeply loved by you. Visiting was a real treat, and we enjoyed when you told us stories from your life, like the one when Grandpa Harry bought the piano. You had been saving your own money to buy one and get my dad and Norman into music lessons, when out of the blue, a delivery truck drops off a shiny black grand piano. For those who've been to the house, I'm sure you've seen it. But what an expense. Harry could surely have bought a car or a boat with that money, as the boys might have preferred.
Yes.
However, when you asked Harry about the splurge, he said that a car would only depreciate. I like to believe that beyond thinking of the investment, though, Harry knew how much music meant to you. Having grown up singing around the organ with your family, you appreciate how music brings people together and warms the soul. Thank you for sharing the value of music with us, and may we feel your love through music and memories for generations to come. That's okay.
Hello, we're Matthew and Danielle. We know that everyone always says this, but we truly had the best grandma. Grandma always welcomed everyone to crash at her place, no matter what. Grandma would skip church Sunday morning to make us breakfast, even if we slept past it. She loved to host and would make sure there were always snacks, lunch, and dinner too. We would never miss her famous hardtack. She taught us and Jessica how to make hardtack so that we can pass the torch to the next generation. Our favorite thing about our grandma is that she did not judge anyone. She loved all people. In fact, she loved every aspect of each of us. She loves listening to our stories, and she'd write birthday cards with long, hard-to-read handwritten letters. One of my favorite memories is how Grandma tried to say, "I love you," but she accidentally signed, which means "I really love you." It also reminds him of Granny accidentally doing it one time too. One of her favorite memories was in Sweden. Amy and her had thought everyone was sleeping until Grandma farted herself awake. Amy burst into giggles and Grandma scolded us. "Oh, shush! It's a normal bodily function that everyone does." We'll leave you with this poem, author unknown. You fed me well, you made me strong. You taught me to know right from wrong. You made me feel I belong. You showed me the value of a song. You gave me life, you gave me love. You always knew the way I feel. You used the words you thought might heal. You convinced me that it was no big deal. Your advice would keep it real. You gave me life, you gave me love. Broken hearts you like to mend. It was not in your nature to offend. Birthday cards you'd always send. You knew the value of family and friends. You gave me life, you gave me love. You left me now and gone away. I'm left behind, I have to stay. So now I'll just have to pray. I'll meet you again another day. You always had that special touch. I loved you so very, very much. You gave me life, you gave me love. Please watch me from above.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm also one of the grandchildren. I am Tom and Melanie's daughter, and I was very fortunate to live across the street from my grandmother for my time in Camrose. This poem is Doreen, written by my brother Paul. We took a walk, just us, my friend Doreen and I, and as we strolled, young and old, called out as we passed by, "Thank you for the flowers and the truly care-filled words. Your Sunday songs were beautiful, and those you thought no one heard." I continued to roam with my wife Doreen, talking excitedly of our ambitions. "Let's build a home, a business, a family," she said, "and love everyone without condition." I thought it dear she expected to hear everyone's story without concession, yet as we strode, she paved our road and continued to teach me the lessons. A storm rolled upon my mother and me, A storm rolled upon my mother and me, though she wasn't much troubled by the noise. I've wrestled far worse things than some silly rain clouds when I was raising you rowdy boys. Then, Mum, why not rest? You've given more than the best. Not every mouth you have to feed. With a chime bell chuckle, she sighed, "Well, I don't know." Often the response from this tough Swede. My grandmother and I took our time step by step, for the cool evening breeze began to tug. There was a gleam in her eye as she saw her children's children had lined the lake shore for a hug. "How are you?" she would coo with an affectionate squeeze, writing down all their birthdays and names. Be from north, south, or east, or all over the globe, she would always love them the same. As twilight stopped by and the night filled the sky, she whispered thanks to all whom she'd seen. "It is you we do thank," we sang to the saint. "You wonderful, we love you, Doreen."
I'm speaking today on behalf of the group of family members that were not related by blood, but connected by love, who benefited from the support and guidance of Doreen Kuntz Walline, and considered her to be a second mom. She was a mom to many. Doreen's sons brought home many strays, both the four-legged kind and the two-legged kind, and Doreen opened her home and her heart to us. After her sons left home, Doreen continued to open her home to people that needed help, including international students and hockey players, as Norm mentioned. The international students initially included several Hong Kong students, and Doreen's home was nicknamed the Hong Kong Hilton. Over time, students from other countries also came and lived at Doreen's home, including medical students from Cameroon and Indonesia. Later, when Bob joined the household, Bob's business relationships in the agricultural community included personal relationships in the Hutterite community, and Doreen and Bob's home was opened to Hutterite families who had loved ones in the hospital nearby, and they came and stayed with Doreen and Bob, and then the home was known as the Hutterite Hilton. Doreen's legacy of kindness and generosity lives on in the countless lives that she touched, including those of Pam Sum, Brenda Nielsen Jackson, John Irving, and Ken McCory, who have provided personal memories for me to share with you. Pam Sum was a Hong Kong student, and she wrote this about Doreen, her mom in Canada. As a foreign student coming from the other corner of the world, the chill of a winter day greeted Pam as she got off the plane at the Edmonton airport. From the moment Pam met Mom, Doreen, she would never forget Doreen's warm and bright smile. Pam wrote that she was fortunate to have Doreen's consistent hand helping her navigate the new and sometimes daunting world. Pam wrote that Doreen's presence, in her presence, she found not just a mentor, but a friend. Doreen's words of encouragement were like a gentle push forward, urging Pam to reach her dreams even when doubt whispered in her ear. Pam is forever grateful for the time she shared with Doreen, and she carries Doreen's memory in her heart always. Brenda Nielsen Jackson wrote that her fond memories of Doreen date way back to 1978. Brenda became friends with James through mutual friends in early teen years, and after moving to a farm in the Balf area during high school, Brenda knew that getting a job in Camrose would be quite a challenge because she didn't drive. Brenda said she was lucky to get a job at the Camrose Ag Society, but she needed a place to live. James spoke to Mom. Immediately thereafter, Brenda had a home that was close enough to walk to work and cozy enough to feel safe. Brenda said that Mom Doreen was a kind and calming soul. Brenda admired Doreen's strength, her knowledge, and her ability to manage her life on her own. Brenda said her time with Doreen had an everlasting impact, and that Doreen made the world a better place for many of us needing a caring hand of a mom. John Irving said he spent a lot of time at the Kuntz house when he was young. He remembers lining up with the boys in the kitchen for the hot buttered hardtack that we've heard a bit about already, and they got it fresh when it came out of the oven. John also remembers Doreen's kindness and generosity being matched by her incredible tolerance. John said that even after he and James threw a box of ripe peaches at that basement wall and shot a puck through the basement window during a game of floor hockey, Doreen always welcomed him back to her house with a smile. Tom's best friend in high school, Ken McCory, wrote that he remembers the safe haven that Doreen gave him on his way home from the occasional party, where Doreen would let him sleep under the coffee table and pretend he was watching a movie at Tom's place. That was his excuse for not going home after drinking. Ken also fondly remembers the flatbread that Doreen made, enjoying it fresh out of the oven too. Ken remembers a particular time when Tom and James and Norm, were having a fight in the backyard. Ken recalls that the brothers were yelling and carrying on until Doreen went to the back door, opened it, and simply stood there. She didn't have to say anything, but the three boys got very quiet, showing their respect for their mom. I'll close with my personal memories of Doreen. I knew her for almost 49 years. I met James when he and I played saxophones together in the grade 10 high school band. I lived on a farm near Kingman, about 20 miles out of town, and until I began to drive, which wasn't for a year and a half, midway through grade 11, I was often stranded in Camrose. So I was one of the strays that James brought home. James and his mom gave me a second home when I needed a place to stay, and I fondly remembered that all the Kuntz boys were very nice to me and welcomed me to their home and also to work with them on the farm. As a young man finding his way in the world, Doreen provided me with guidance, support, and a sense of belonging that I will always cherish. Doreen had a subtle way of teaching important lessons, and her advice and wisdom helped shape me into the person I am today. So as we bid farewell to Doreen, let us take comfort in the knowledge that her spirit lives on in the hearts of all who knew and loved her. She was strong and wise, kind and caring. She'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you who spoke from your hearts and shared your stories, your poems, and your music. Thank you. We're going to watch a short video called Memories and Pictures, and the family wants to thank Luke Strayberg for creating this treasure. I've also been asked to point out to you that in this video there is a song, How Can I Keep From Singing? And there's a bit of a story with it. Doreen had once mentioned to Eileen Hunter that she hoped this song would be part of her service. And recently, Eileen shared that with Melanie. So Eileen, Melanie, thank you. This afternoon, it's part of our memories.
And says, "Here's your boat." And I said, "Well, we shouldn't be spending this kind of money on a piano," because I had saved enough to buy just a normal little upright piano. And he says, "Well," he says, "like this cost as much as a car did back in those days." And he said, "Well," he says, "a car will be depreciated in 5 years and this one will just appreciate." That's what he bought that one. I think you like the look of it. Well, it's
My life goes on in endless song of lovers' lamentation. I hear the real, no far off hymn that hails a new creation.
No storm can shake my inmost heart, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven. How can I keep from singing?
Although the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth. And though the darkness round me calls, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost song, while to that rock since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? I lift my eyes, the cloud grows thin. I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway smooths. Since first I learned to love it, no storm can shake my inmost calm. I hear the music ringing, it sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
Zuckerberg rather made it. He made yours. And he bent a copper wire. It's a copper wire. And flattened the ends and put it in with a screw. And I just go when I make it. And this is for putting it into the oven or taking it out. If you're putting it on the oven racks.
Yeah.
But now I make them smaller and put them on a cookie sheet, and that works really good.
On a plaque on the wall in the living room of Bob and Doreen's home were these words from the Bible, from the book of Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time for letting go, a time to keep and a time to lose, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to speak and a time to keep silent, a time to hate and a time to love, a time of war and a time of peace. And thinking of Doreen's generous hospitality, I'm reminded of the hospitality of another. The night before he was killed, Jesus said to his disciples, his friends, "In my Father's house there are many rooms. If this weren't so, would I have told you I am going to prepare a place for you? And when I go and prepare a place for you, I will return and take you to be with me, so that where I am, you will be also." Amen. We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Should I speak before the meeting?
No, we're not done yet.
Our God in heaven, holy is your name. Your reign come, your will done on earth
In this past hour, we have celebrated Doreen, her life, her love. And our celebration isn't over. As we visit together, let's share our stories of times we spent with her. But even then, it isn't over. In the days ahead, let's remember what Doreen means to us, to each of us. Let's remember what she gave us, what she taught us, and how she lived. And may we, with our lives and our love, forward all this to others. Let's go out and touch the world, if not with a song, then with a little kindness, with love. Because as we do this, we will know that Doreen is always with us. Erika Lang in Sweden sent a short message expressing gratitude for the contact Doreen maintained with her relatives and friends through letters and visits. All of us here in Sweden, she said, are thinking of you and sending you our thoughts and prayers. She also sent a poem, which I've done my best to translate. Here it is. With no farewells or conscious words, so quickly and quietly you passed from this world. Allt som du älskat oss bilda nu är, du talla och skratta, vi minns dig och ser. We go on now in the world that you knew, picturing everything you loved, and in the memories we carry, still you talk, still you laugh. And now, let's go. Let's go with love, let's go with peace, let's go with joy. For in death, as in life, and in life beyond death, we are not alone. God is with us. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Good afternoon, everybody. This concludes the formal portion of the celebration of my mother's life. But before we break for lunch, on behalf of my wife Laura and all of our extended family, I want to say a few words of thanks. If my mother, like when Tom Sawyer was able to look down on his own funeral, if Mom's looking down, I believe she is, she would be somewhat surprised and yet secretly pleased by this tremendous turnout today. And so on her behalf, I thank each and every one of you for making the time to come today. To the congregation of the CityLights Church, thank you so very much for allowing us to use your place of worship. I can honestly say I've never seen a grocery store more magnificently repurposed. The last time I saw one, I was in a dank, dark former Safeway in Seattle watching roller derby. It simply goes to show what a bit of faith, hard work, and love of community can accomplish. Speaking of community, a final word of thanks to the community of Camrose. My mother spent most of her adult life here. She loved living here. And the reason for that was she always felt respected, she was treated with dignity, and for that she was exceedingly grateful. I want to end by saying that we hope you can stick around, lunch, a little coffee, a little conversation, some reminiscing. And I leave you with the final words of another dearly departed Camrosian, the late, great Win McLean, who always used to like to say, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. And so on that note, just two more words. Go Oilers.